Gear up for Sports Talk on the South Carolina Radio Network. It's your final word on sports all across the state. Be a part of tonight's show. Call us at 800-956-7266 or email talkback@sportstalksc.com. Now here are your hosts, Phil Kornblut, Kevin McCrarey, and Tom Hayes.
That's what good teams do. They make you pay when you make a mistake, and they don't beat themselves. So, key for us is we've got to play clean baseball. If we can play clean baseball, we can compete with anybody in the country, and hopefully we can do that here at home this weekend.
All right, good evening, everyone, and welcome back into Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network. On a Thursday evening, felt like a Tuesday to me because went up to Clemson for the first time since the spring game. Still 130 miles from Columbia. They haven't moved it. I'd hoped maybe they had moved it east a little bit, but nope, it's still up there where the air is clean and the grass is green. And they are ready to welcome fans in from Vandy and from Greensboro and May St. John's, if any are coming down for the regional beginning tomorrow. Alex Eubanks, how do you react to that? You'll hear from Monty Lee, and he'll explain it. Alex Eubanks going to get the call for the Tigers. I don't think they look at that as a roll of the dice. Matchup-wise and all that kind of stuff, they feel like either way, Barnes tomorrow night, Eubanks tomorrow night, the other one going Saturday. No big deal. Yeah. No big
Barnes
difference.
Is your ace. I see why you're doing it, and it's a great idea as long as it works.
Yeah.
Because if you lose that first game to the 4 seed and you don't throw your ace, Jack Leggett can tell you that. He did that in Columbia one year, and they ended up going 0-2 in barbecue in the regional. That can throw you off. But I get it. You know what you have to do to win the tournament. It's not a one-game tournament. You have to win 3 games to get to the next round, and you have to plan like you have to win 3 games to get to the next round. You're playing a 4 seed. Eubanks has been a weekend starter in big games all season. You go with him. I like that more than starting Tyler Jackson, which some people were suggesting to start him. Your midweek guy who's been like a weekend guy. I mean, he's been very good, but as we pointed out, starting on a Wednesday against Elon is a lot different than starting on a Friday night and a regional game.
But I would prefer to move up through the winners bracket instead of losing that first game and have to really have sudden death.
Here's the other thing you have to remember, too, is assuming that everything is chalk and Clemson plays Vanderbilt Saturday night, Clemson's going to see one of the great pitchers in the country in Kyle Wright. They know that. Vandy, he's set for his Saturday start. Wright is there. So they know they're going to see a great pitcher, and they've got to match fire with fire. Now, Clemson has had a struggling May. They only won 8 games in the month of May. Now, wait a minute. Let me rephrase that. They won 5 games in the month of May, lost 8. If I'm remembering my math right, all 8 of their losses were to teams in the tournament. So they were playing very good competition. So the point is they struggled when they hit the month of May. Yeah, they went 5-8 in the month of May. They had 34 wins going into May, 39 wins coming out of May. So they have struggled here down the stretch, and they kind of see this as a fresh start for everybody. Williams will not be available to catch at all. He can only DH his arm, his shoulder, not able to let him throw the baseball. So he'll just be strictly a DH. This is a time when your best players have to rise to the occasion. Seth Beers got his average up. Remember, he was in the 250s much of the year. He's at 291 now. You would expect that this would be the time for him to step on the big stage and get some clutch hits, hit with power, drive in some runs. Reed Roman was named the second-team All-American today by Collegiate Baseball. He's here. Now, this team they're playing tomorrow night in Greensboro, they can hit 325 team batting average, 3 guys hitting 360 or more. They hit and they field, about a 980 fielding percentage. They don't pitch it all that well. Their ERA as a team is like over 5. As Monty was, as we were talking, you'll hear the interview coming up. It's a typical Southern Conference team. They can hit with power. This particular team bunts well. They put the ball in play, don't strike out a lot. steal a base, and move runners forward, things of that nature. So they're going to have to pitch it well and play good defense behind Eubanks. Eubanks hasn't won a game since April 22nd.
He's due. He's due.
Yeah.
You know, the interesting thing also, you talked about your big players have to play. There's always have to be an unsung hero that nobody figured out would do some damage to people. That happened to Coastal Carolina when they lost their all-conference second baseman. Then they had to put a fill in, and they didn't miss a beat. So you got to have those bench players that can come in and play as well. I think the interesting thing about it, I'd rather have the pitching, though. If I'm Clemson and I get good pitching, I should roll right through this series. I know Vandy is tough, but you're at home and you've got the advantage. Now, the interesting thing is, how did they do the second? Who bats second in the first? Is it a coin flip? Clemson plays Vandy if it's in the second game.
Yeah, coin flip. Because they've both been the home team. They'll do a coin flip.
Because sometimes
usually that's how it
when
works.
a team has a good
let me think on that for a second. I think the first time they play, the higher seeded team is the home team.
Really, they've both been the home team, and then if they have to play again,
then they play again. Either there's a coin flip or the other team.
This would have been a good. We had the NCAA rep on the show last night. We didn't even ask.
That is correct. Yeah.
He probably wouldn't have known.
He would have.
Oh, Andy, he would. He certainly would have known. All right, so we'll have comments coming up from Monty Lee for you. A one-on-one interview with him and some comments from Tiger players who were at the press conference today. Also, we're going to be joined at the 7:05 by Fred Jordan, the now retired baseball coach at the Citadel. What a great career he had with the Bulldogs. You go back and look at his numbers, very, very impressive with what he did at the Citadel. I think it's like 12 Southern Conference championships under his reign. Always had quality teams until the last couple of years. Things kind of dried up on him talent-wise. But, boy, did he have some arms over the last few years, and got some guys in the major leagues to attest to that. So look forward to having him with us. And your phone calls, 800-956-7266. If you want to join us on the program. A lot of you tried to get through last night, couldn't get to you. More than welcome to join us tonight to talk about the Clemson Regional, the fact South Carolina is sitting at home this season. It's now almost the end of the week. It's Thursday. I guess they finish up in Destin tomorrow, which means Ray Tanner will be making his way back to Columbia. I would imagine, with nothing else to do, that he and Holbrook will get together this weekend. Why wait? I mean, there's no reason to extend this thing any longer than necessary. I would imagine they'll sit down as soon as possible. I would think it would happen this weekend, and we'll see what's on Ray's mind. We'll see what he's thinking and how he feels about. Well, we won't. I mean, he and Holbrook will. And then
he didn't invite us to the meeting.
Yeah, and you're not having dinner over at Holbrook's house with other members of the media?
No, he did that last week.
Only Dabo Sweeney invites the media over to his
I
house
see
for
you've been in a war with people.
I'm in a war with everybody.
What is that all about?
It's just it's World War III on my Twitter.
You should get off of Twitter, man.
I really should.
Twitter
I think I'm just going
Twitter
to delete my account.
is a minefield, and you're at some point in time going to step on a live one.
I guess one thing we haven't mentioned this week is the fact that when an AD makes a decision, it's not an either or. It's, wait a minute, who's available? Who can I get? Because if the person you want, you can't get, it may be better to just stay with the status quo. But the interesting thing is, I think if you stay with the status quo, Phil, it'll be interesting if Ray Tanner really has to have a prayer meeting for recruiting purposes. You have to think seriously about extending Holbrook if you bring him back, because to just have him dangling.
And you also have to think about the impact.
Give him one of those Dan Radakovich extensions. Here you go. There's zero buyout.
Well, I'm
you
sure
get a couple extra years.
I'm sure that is
have a psychiatrist in the dugout.
If something like that happens, I mean, he'll be on a one-year deal. Everybody knows he's on a one-year deal, regardless of what happens if he comes back.
Every coach in America is on a one-year
deal.
See,
but you put your players on a one-year deal. And when you put 18, 19-year-old kids on a one-year deal, they may fold under that kind of pressure trying to play for the coach's job.
We are back at Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network. Thursday night from downtown Columbia. Sports Talk, of course, your final word in sports every night in South Carolina. Your most informed word, your most educated word, and when I'm talking K-Mag, it is also your what?
Most insane word?
Most handsome word.
Oh.
Come on, K-Mac. You've been here long enough to know the routine.
Yeah, I tune that part out.
800.
My brain does not
the king is not in the
falsehoods.
building.
When you talk about golf or your looks, my brain just zaps everything out.
800-956-7266, the number. We'll get to your phone calls in just a moment. Got some notes here I want to update very quickly that are important and interesting. The SEC today announced the conference basketball opponents for each team. USC's home league opponents this year in basketball, men's basketball: Auburn, Florida, Georgia, Kentucky, LSU, Mississippi State, Missouri, Tennessee, and Vanderbilt. The road games: Alabama, Arkansas, Auburn, Florida, Georgia, Ole Miss, Mississippi State, Tennessee, and Texas A&M. Those are the SEC opponents. Also, David Cloninger from the States writing that the Gamecocks are going to play Wyoming this coming season. I think that's a deal that's in the works with Frank Martin and the coach out there.
Alan Edwards,
right.
a Miami guy.
Correct. Who he coached in high school, I believe.
His brother is on the
USC.
Gamecock staff.
Yep. Also, of course, they've already it's been announced they're going to play Texas Tech
in Big 10, our Big 12 challenge.
They also play UMass in a game. So their schedule's coming
so
together.
They're going to pass on Michigan to a year after this.
Right.
Okay.
Martin also said today, or in the last, I guess it was today, at the SEC meetings that he's getting close. He has a favorite to replace Matt Figger on his staff. He said no rush, but he's reaching beyond coaches he's worked with in the past. He said, quote, "We need a different voice. I think he'd be good to our staff to just have somebody that doesn't bring in, well, he knows how Frank does things. I need somebody to come in and say, hey, Frank, why do you do it like that? Not that it doesn't work, but it stimulates growth by making us all think." So it sounds like he's going outside of his comfort area.
I got a box.
And outside of his coaching tree and his friendships to bring in somebody. So we'll see.
You think it's Chuck Martin, Indiana?
I have no idea.
The only reason
that was the name I heard way back.
Yeah, the only reason I think about that name, and I don't think he's been hired, is the fact that you just had a great performance in New York City in the NCAA tournament. South Carolina's name is hot in New York. He recruits New York, and Chuck Martin is from the Bronx.
Mm-hmm.
It just looks like a tie there if he wants to, because he's got Florida. That's his territory. So do you want somebody on the other side of the Eastern Seaboard? That'd be interesting.
All right. The collegiate baseball All-American team was announced today. And on the second team from Coastal Carolina, right-hander Alex Cunningham. From the Citadel, left-hander J.P. Sears. And from Clemson, outfielder Reed Roman is on the squad as a second team member, 375 batting average. And I think that's everybody from our state.
You did the three of them.
Yeah. Two pitchers and Roman.
Mm-hmm.
The national players of the year this year are McKay from Louisville and Rooker from Mississippi State.
Two really good picks right there. McKay, great hitter, great pitcher, and Rooker, that guy, he smoked the ball out of Founders Park. A two-strike pitch, dead center.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that guy is incredible.
Former USC coach Jim Carlin is one of the 6 coaches who are candidates for the College Football Hall of Fame this time around. Of course, he coached at West Virginia and Texas Tech and at USC. I think he's a very worthy candidate. Led teams to 8 bowl games, 13 winning seasons in 16 years, 73 National Coach of the Year, 3-time Southwest Conference Coach of the Year, coached a Heisman Trophy winner, George Rogers at USC, innovator with his veer offense, That was a very fun offense to watch. I love the old Veer offense back in the day when they were playing on the artificial surface. So Coach Carlin perhaps will get the recognition. The other coaches, Frank Beamer, Mac Brown, Pete Coffin Sr., Billy Jack Murphy, and Darrell Rogers, who I would assume was an automatic. Wouldn't you think Darrell Rogers would be?
I would have thought he was already there, quite frankly.
Oh, you know what? And that's my bad. I'm confusing him. Not Darrell. I'm thinking of Darrell Royal.
Okay.
Yeah, not Darrell Rogers. No, he's not an automatic. He's a good coach, good record, but he's not. I got him confused. Maybe Mac Brown could be considered an automatic with his career. One more note here for Gamecock fans, kind of down in the mouth over no chance for a baseball national championship. The Gamecocks are still alive. In fact, they had the early lead yesterday after day one of the college fishing national championship. You're laughing, K-Mac. This is serious.
Oh, okay.
I mean, you think it's easy? You think it's easy to pull in big bass?
No.
The team of Patrick Walters and Geddes Brannon. Patrick from Somerville, Geddes from Gaffney. As of yesterday, have the early lead. 5 bass limit totaling 17 pounds, 3 ounces. They have the lead over Tennessee's Bethel University. So we'll see if the Gamecocks.
What are they using as bait?
I couldn't
Spinner
tell
bait.
you.
The only reason I asked that
Worms,
question because I read some
crickets.
story where a guy got this big catfish.
Let me say this. South Carolina is a 2-time defending national champion. Have won the last 2 champions. Yeah, 2-time defending champion here. So
no, I read about some guy catching some big catfish and they asked what he used for bait. He said, well, I just happened to have some chicken McNuggets left over and he put one on the hook.
And it worked?
Threw it in the water, it worked.
Well, you never know. All right, to the phones we go, 800-956-7266. Melvin in Johnston. Yeah, Johnston. Hello, Melvin. Welcome to Sports Talk.
Hey, how y'all fellas doing?
We're doing good.
Good. I was just clearing up on your seedings for your regionals. You was talking about how they do those for Clemson, Vanderbilt as being 1 and 2s. Your higher seed will always host unless they lose. And then if they lose, the higher seed that's still in the winners bracket will host. The coin flip only comes in the gift game, if they go to a gift game in the championship game. And the super regional is just opposite. Your higher team will host the first game. The team that comes into the super regional will be the home team for the second game, and then there'll be a coin flip for the third game.
You sound like you've worked these games before.
I call it a little high school, so I know a little bit.
Okay. Well, I'm glad you cleared that up for us.
Yes, sir. The high team will always host as long as they're undefeated.
As long as they're undefeated. They'll be the home team.
Right. That number 4 seed, the only way they can be the home team for any game is they have to win their first 2 games and be in the championship game undefeated. That's the only way they would be the home team.
Thank you so much. We appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
All right. 800-956-7266 is the phone number. We'll have recruiting coming up for you here in just a little bit as well. Also, one-on-one interview with Monty Lee done earlier today up at Clemson. I had a chance to talk with Tim Corbin a little bit on the side as well. And what a great guy he is. Of course, coached at Presbyterian. Great success at Vanderbilt. 58 years old now. And, he's becoming well, he's not becoming. I mean, he is one of the best coaches in the country. But, I mean, when you hit 58, you're getting towards 60. He's starting to kind of see the end of the road there. But he's a very youthful and energetic 60-year-old. Keeps himself in shape. And he was just doing a lot of reminiscing with us today, talking about getting married. He got married the day South Carolina beat Clemson, and it was Matt Padgett missed that field goal for Clemson in South Carolina.
97.
He got married that day in front of about, he said, 5 or 6 people over there at Madron Center on the Clemson campus. And, of course, he's still very, very close with Jack Leggett. And the two will get together probably tonight and reminisce on some things. We'll be right back. The NCAA baseball regionals actually are underway as we speak. The regional at Stanford began today because BYU is in the field. BYU can't play on Sunday.
That's correct.
So they started today, and BYU playing Cal State Fullerton. And in the fifth inning, Fullerton is leading 7-0 over BYU. Ooh. Coming up at Sacramento State and Stanford. Now, the Clemson Regional begins tomorrow at noon with Vanderbilt taking on a St. John's team that can really swing the bats. But Vanderbilt will have one of their outstanding pitchers going for them tomorrow. And Vandy, of course, relies heavily on their pitching and their defense. They hit it pretty well also, but it's their pitching that is the standout factor for them. Patrick Raby goes for Vandy tomorrow, 9-3, 2.24 ERA. And then Kyle Wright will go on Saturday, and though he has a losing record, got off to kind of a slow start this year. He's 4-5, 2.91 ERA, but my goodness, 104 strikeouts, only 27 walks in 89 2/3 innings. And people are hyping him as the number one pick in the draft, or one of somebody who'll go very early in the draft.
First two picks.
Yeah, very. That's probably going to be the guy Clemson, should Clemson win tomorrow night, and that'll be the guy they'll see, assuming that Vandy wins as well. I think that's what everybody wants to see. Would love to see a showdown. Charlie Barnes, Kyle Wright at Clemson on a Saturday night. That'd be pretty sweet.
That would be lit, as the kids say.
Now, today I was up there and got a chance to get together with Monty Lee to talk with him. Are we picking this up with my question? Okay. So I got a chance to catch up with Monty Lee after he finished with the main presser to talk about being back in the regionals.
Congratulations on getting back in the tournament, hosting once again 2 years in a row. You are doing what you came here to Clemson to do, but I know you want to get to that next step.
We absolutely do. I mean, it's always awesome, number one, to be in the postseason because, you know, it's really a select group that gets into the postseason from 295 down to 64. So we're excited about the opportunity to continue playing, but we're very, very excited to get the opportunity to host a regional and play against such tough competition. We know we've got our hands full this weekend. And hopefully our guys can put together their best baseball here over the next few days, and we'll see where it takes us.
Well, certainly you learned last year that it's great being at home, but by no means is it an automatic advance being at home.
No, absolutely not. I mean, and you got to continue to play good baseball. I mean, this is where, you know, the best of the best are playing, and we've got to put together great games, pitching-wise, defensively, and offensively. You got to play all phases of the game in the postseason. But it all starts with pitching and defense. If we can pitch and defend the field, we're going to give ourselves a chance. That's going to be the key. We're playing UNC Greensboro in Game 1. They're a very offensive group. And hopefully Alex Eubanks will be on top of his game, and we can find a way to score some runs off of a very, very tough left-hander in Hensley that's going to go for UNC Greensboro.
I'm sure when people saw that Eubanks was going to be your starter, they're like, okay, he's saving Barnes for Vanderbilt, thinking that way. You don't think that way.
No, I'm not thinking that way at all. We looked at it as a coaching staff from a matchup standpoint. We're trying to figure out, okay, what gives us the best chance to win Game 1, and what is the best matchup for us in Game 2? Because we knew, hopefully we're playing. Everybody assumes that Vanderbilt's going to beat St. John's, but either way you look at it, you look at St. John's lineup, you look at Vanderbilt's lineup, we feel like Charlie is the better matchup against both of those teams, and we felt like Alex was a better matchup against UNC Greensboro. So we honestly, it wasn't a matter of trying to pitch off. We're not trying to pitch off. We're trying to pitch to the best matchup against UNC Greensboro and the best matchup versus St. John's or Vanderbilt, whoever it is, and Barnes was the better matchup there on paper. Now, bottom line is both those guys got to pitch well, but we're trying to win 2 games. I mean, we're trying to win 2 games to put ourselves in a position to play for the championship in Game 3. That's our goal. You know, we didn't host a regional just to play in one. We hosted a regional to try to win it. So it's not a matter of looking ahead. It's a matter of looking at it and saying, what's the best matchup for us to win game one and put ourselves in a position to win game two. But you got to win 2 games. I mean, that's the bottom line. So, that's what we decided. Hopefully it's the right call. But it's not just going to be on Alex and Charlie. I mean, we got to catch the ball behind them, and we got to swing the bats. And if we can put all 3 together, we're going to give ourselves a chance to win this regional.
Looking at the numbers on this Greensboro team, unbelievable offensive stats up and down the lineup. They play good defense. Pitching ERA is a little bit on the high side. Kind of what you expect coming out of the SoCon?
Yeah, it feels like a Southern Conference team, a team that can really bang it, that's going to have to outscore you. I've coached in the SoCon for a number of years, and boy, was it a fun league when it comes to the offensive side of things. But I know Link very well. He's done a great job there, and they're going to be a very, very tough team for us to match up with. And even though their ERA may be a little bit high, you look at Hensley, the left-hander that's starting against us. This is a guy that's going to get drafted pretty good. I've talked to some scouts that know him, and they've all got him turned in to get drafted pretty good. He's a big, tall, 6'4", 6'5" left-hander, and he's going to pitch in that 88 to 90 range. So this is no slouch. This is a guy that could probably pitch for us on the weekends. So we got a tough test ahead of us, and but hopefully the home crowd and our guys feeling like it's a new season for us after a tough month of May. Hopefully we can get everything going in the right direction tomorrow night.
Yeah, you mentioned the month of May. There's no doubt you guys have been in a slide. As you've looked at things, anything you can put your finger on? Is it simply the case of the competition you were facing? You can't hide from the fact you played great competition.
No, not at all. I think that it was 2 things. I think, number one, when you're playing against the level of competition that we played in the month of May, you got to play 9 innings of good baseball. That's the bottom line. I think, at times earlier in the year, we could get away with playing 7 innings of good baseball where we'd have an inning or 2 where maybe we kicked some balls or, gave up some runs or maybe, didn't put together as good a bats as we would have liked with runners in scoring position, but we held on to win 5-3 or 6-4 or whatever the case may be. Bottom line is you get towards the end where you're playing teams like North Carolina, you're playing the Louisvilles. Those teams aren't going to beat themselves. You got to beat them for 9 innings. And we were in a position to win a number of games against those teams. Bottom line is we had that 1 inning, where we gave up some hits or we didn't make a play. And next thing you know, it just seems like in the month of May, every mistake we made, the opposition made us pay. But that's what good teams do. They make you pay when you make a mistake, and they don't beat themselves. So, the key for us is we got to play clean baseball. If we can play clean baseball, we can compete with anybody in the country, and hopefully we can do that here at home this weekend.
All right. Any chance that Chris Williams gets behind the plate or strictly DH?
No chance. No chance he's going to be able to catch. He's got an arm injury that just will not allow him to be able to get back there and catch for us, which is a shame. We'd love to have Chris back there. He's one of the best catchers in the country. We could potentially use him as a DH or in a pinch hit opportunity. So, we'll try to use him to the best of our advantages to help us win a ball game. But, it's obviously a big blow to us, but it is what it is. You just got to deal with it, move on. And, hopefully we can use him at the right time to help us win this weekend.
All right, last thing, one of your great rivals hanged it up, Freddie Jordan, after all those years at the Citadel. You guys clashed many, many times. What's your message to Freddie, and what do you call about going head-to-head against him?
Well, he's a legend, and he was somebody that I admired for over half my life. Have so much respect for Freddie Jordan. And you just look at the coaches that have worked for him and what they've been able to do when they left the Citadel. I know a lot of guys that played for Freddie. One of my assistants at the College of Charleston played for Freddie, and everybody just talks about how much of a father figure he was to them, how much of a leader he was for that program and for those guys that played for him, just the unbelievable experiences that they had playing for Freddie Jordan. And I learned a lot from him. I got over the years to develop a great relationship with him, had a great friendship with him, and I learned a lot from him. He's a guy that I called a number of times when I've been here at Clemson, and even when I was at the College of Charleston, even though we were rivals, I would call him and ask him advice. And he, he's just one of those guys that would open up to you and try to help you. He'd shoot you a text when you won a big game. He's just one of those guys, just a guy that did it the right way, and just have so much respect for Freddie. The game's not going to be the same, without having him in our state anymore. So whoever gets the job's got big shoes to fill. But I hope they turn to Freddie like I have to get advice when they need it, because he's he can definitely give you the kind of knowledge you need as a coach to have success. you need as a coach to have success.
Monty, thanks so much. Good luck this weekend.
Yep. Thank you.
All right, Fullerton up on BYU now, top of the 8th, 9-2, the first of the college baseball regional games underway, and a full slate of them tomorrow. We'll be up at Clemson tomorrow to cover the Tigers in their game against UNC Greensboro, broadcasting live from Doug Kingsmore Stadium in the first hour. And then we'll turn things over to you guys to take care of the second hour. I'll do some drop-ins as the game progresses. They're expecting big crowds up there, and hopefully we're going to have good weather, no interruptions from lightning and thunderstorms and things of that nature that really don't make regionals fun when that happens. Give you some recruiting, and then in the second hour, Fred Jordan is going to join us. Also, another edition, always exciting, Morgan on the Move. Mike Morgan joining us in the second hour. He'll be doing the Florida Gator Regional down in Gainesville this weekend, so he'll share his thoughts on the
I think
baseball
he did
tournament.
that one last year at Gainesville.
Probably so. And then he did the Super Regional, right, with Louisville, where they had the dramatic walk-off home run.
Yes.
Is that Grand Slam, wasn't it? Wasn't it a Grand Slam or something? That a pinch hitter
Stony
hit?
Brook, or who was it? Stony Brook?
No, it was a West Coast team.
Yeah, Cal.
No. I think you're right.
No, Stony Brook was a different.
Yeah, it was a West Coast team last year.
That team made it to Omaha, did they not?
Yeah.
That was a super. That was, I think, if I remember correct. Well, he'll tell us about it. Yeah. All right, recruiting. South Carolina, of course, getting the transfer of Stephen Davis Jr., as he told GoGamecocks.com, Steve Davis Sr. yesterday that his son's going to be walking on at South Carolina, enrolling the second session of summer school. And now South Carolina is involved with a couple of other – well, I say they're involved with a couple of others. I know one for sure, and a second one is presumed, but he hasn't been talking. The other two former Auburn players, defensive back Marlon Character and defensive lineman Antoine Jackson, both Georgia natives, both considered USC in high school. There are ties there. Character actually committed to the Gamecocks at one point. Jackson is the half-brother of USC linebacker Bryson Allen Williams. He also considered USC before he signed with Auburn. And, of course, they were recruited to Auburn by Travaris Robinson and Will Muschamp when they were at Auburn. So only stands to reason there could be some interest there. Now, Jackson – Character has not commented publicly about his transfer or his future plans. Assumption is that USC could be a player there. Jackson did talk in detail, really for the first time that I've seen, to us yesterday about his situation. He has a June 8th appeal at Auburn. Auburn has blocked him from a clean transfer to any other SEC school: Clemson, Ohio State, Mercer, and Georgia Southern. Clemson, Mercer, and Georgia Southern are on the Tigers' schedule this season. Ohio State and USC are not. Because of the block, Jackson's not able to talk with Muschamp or Robinson. He's hoping he can win his appeal so he can give the Gamecocks consideration. He said that would be very big because Robinson and all them, as he put it, recruited him to Auburn. He said, I wouldn't be surprised if they gave him a call, the Gamecocks, if he's released. He said, Auburn does not want me in the SEC at all, not even the SEC East. He said, given the chance to go to USC this time around, it would be something he would be strongly considering once again. He said, quote, they would be at the top mostly. I remember talking to T-Rob and them a lot when they were recruiting me for Auburn. He doesn't know what he'll do if his appeal is denied. Going to junior college for a season is on the table, as well as schools in the other Power 5 conferences like the Big 10, Big 12, or ACC. And he says, quote, my question was to them, why are they blocking Ohio State for no reason? They just put Ohio State on there for no reason. My question to them is, why are they blocking me from a Big 10 school when they don't have anything to do with Big 10 schools? Why didn't they block me from Michigan or Indiana or any other Big 10 school? Why would they do that immediately? Jackson was one of the top prospects in Georgia in the 16 class. His offers also included Clemson, Alabama, Florida, Georgia, Tennessee, Notre Dame, and Texas A&M. Defensive end Dorian Gerald of the College of the Canyons Junior College in California has USC in his top 12. I think I mentioned this yesterday. I'll do it again. The others are Texas A&M, Florida State, Florida, Oklahoma, Alabama, Louisville, Syracuse, Georgia, NC State, Tennessee, and LSU. He returns home today, homes in Florence, for a summer break, and he's planning to visit USC while he is at home. Last night, receiver Trey Turner of Greensboro announced a commitment to Virginia Tech. USC was in his final 10. Georgia Military Junior College defensive lineman Jabari Ellis will visit USC Saturday. He's been favoring the Gamecocks, but he said he's not planning a commitment Saturday. He wants to take more visits. North Carolina State, East Carolina, and Colorado are his other offers. He said he also plans to visit NC State and Colorado. 2019 linebacker Owen Pepo of Loganville, Georgia, visited Clemson today. Defensive back DeMarvion Overshone of Arp, Texas, committed to Texas. Clemson was on his short list. Basketball, 2019 Dutch Fork guard Deuce Dean is on the move to York Prep, according to Lou Bezjak of thestate.com. And we say Bezjak or Bezjak? Or Lou?
Tomato.
I think it's Bezjak.
Deuce Dean.
Deuce Dean, yeah.
Interesting.
He has offers from Virginia Tech, Kansas State, the Citadel, and Toledo. Hey, Lou, if you're listening, DM me the pronunciation of the last name just so I can get it
By
right.
the way, I looked
He's
it
not
up.
listening.
Louisville lost last year to UC Santa Barbara.
Say again?
UC Santa Barbara. Louisville lost to them last year in the Super Regional.
Was that a team that hit the walk-off?
Yes.
UC Santa Barbara?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right, there we go with recruiting for now. Be sure to check it out on our website, sportstalksc.com, on Twitter. Use the hashtag STRecruiting to take you right to all of our recruiting information. Let's go quickly down to Charleston, North Charleston, more exactly. Glenn with us next here on Sports Talk. Hello, sir. How are you?
How you doing, y'all?
Good, good.
Yeah, I agree with you primarily as a business with college sports, guys. As you know, it's probably run more as a business when you get to the athletic director on up through the university. They probably looking at the coach closely as well. And but I believe in myself and his record, he's done all right as far as, you know, they're not going to win championships if that's what they're expecting Clemson. That's probably good way off, maybe a couple of seasons away. But there were some plays that were questionable, like this guy that was on third base looking at a completion of a throw to first base, deciding whether to run home or not. You know, whether to bunt or not to bunt. That is the question. So those kind of issues came up. And as far as, I forget his name, but he made player of the week with those defender field. I think he did all right. Carlos was his name?
Carlos Cortez.
Cortez did real good.
Yeah.
So, you know, they had good batting.
He's a good young player, and I was reading some information from John Whittle, the big spur on the Gamecocks incoming class. I mean, they have got two players in particular who are studs. We're talking, if they decide to come to Carolina, we're talking about guys who could be immediate contributors. A catcher from Augusta who's supposed to be very, very good, and an outfielder who is from, where's that outfielder from? I can't remember, but an outfielder. Both are very highly coveted by the pros. And if somehow they decide not to go pro and come to South Carolina, according to John Whittle, these two guys can be immediate major contributors. Not just that, we're talking about guys that improve your team and your talent level, stud likes. You know, we're
sure there can be some pros that like them too.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It just depends on if they want to come to college or go to the pros. So that's the kind of thing, that incoming class, if they can hold it together, will give South Carolina quite a lift, including some of the pitchers they're bringing in. All right, thanks for the call. Top of the hour break. We'll be back.
some kind of gathering they had before opening day.
Yeah, she's pretty nutty. All right, here we go. Kill those mics if you would, and yours. Thank you. All right, coming down in 3, 2, 1. Former Auburn players, defensive back Marlon Character and defensive lineman Antoine Jackson, both were recruited by USC out of high school in Georgia, and both could have further interaction with the Gamecocks. Character has not spoken publicly about his plans, but Jackson said he'd love to hear from USC if he can get a complete release from Auburn. He has an appeal on June 8th. Right now, Auburn is blocking him from any other SEC program. Okay, pick it up here. 3, 2, 1. Georgia Military Junior College defensive lineman Jabari Ellis plans to visit USC on Saturday. He's been favoring the Gamecocks, but he said he's not planning a commitment Saturday. He still wants to take more visits to NC State and Colorado. 2019 linebacker Owen Pipo of Loganville, Georgia, was at Clemson on Thursday. Phil Kornblut, South Carolina, Radio Network Sports. Former Auburn playing him from any other SEC program. Georgia Military Junior College defensive lineman Jabari Ellis plans to visit USC on Saturday. He's been
live from Columbia. This is Sports Talk on the South Carolina Radio Network. Be a part of tonight's show. Call us at 800-956-7266 or email talkback@sportstalksc.com. Now, here are your hosts for Sports Talk, Phil Kornblut, Kevin McCrarey, and Tom Hayes.
All right, we're back at Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network. Phil Kornblut, Kevin McCrarey, Professor Tom Hayes, all with you on this Thursday night as we have rolled into June and the start of the baseball regionals. First one's underway out at Stanford. Then, of course, the other regionals, the other 15 across the country get rolling tomorrow, including the one up at Clemson. We'll hear from some of the Tiger players coming up a little bit later on. Right now, though, we want to welcome in to Sports Talk somebody that we have talked to many, many times over the years, and somebody who is wrapping up his college coaching career, Fred Jordan at the Citadel, joining us here on Sports Talk, announcing his retirement after 26 years with the Bulldogs, his alma mater. And Fred, first of all, thanks for joining us. Congratulations on a fabulous run.
Well, thank you very much, Phil. I really appreciate it.
What has it been like for you since the end of the SoCon tournament? You had a few days to kind of think about things, and then you made your announcement that you were done.
Yeah, I'd made my decision, probably a month in advance, and, just wanted some time. And I, thank the media, all you guys, for allowing me to have that time. And we had a great run, and I'm going to move on to the next chapter of our lives.
Why did you feel like this was the right time to step aside?
Well, the biggest thing was, Phil, is that, I felt that Citadel baseball probably needs a change. The last year and a half has been very difficult, and probably need to step aside and let the next guy up, see what he can do.
Yeah, I mean, you had such a great run really until about 4 years ago. Back in 2013, you won 35 games, finished second in the tournaments. And then since then, it's been a kind of a slow decline for you. Is there anything in particular that you can point to, that you can say, this is a reason, that's a reason why things turned?
Yeah, I know what the reason is, but I really don't want to talk about it. And, we had great players, and unfortunately, we had poor decisions, some of our players, and it affected the program, but we'll move on, and hopefully they'll hire a really good guy and see if he can get it back to where it needs to be.
You have said that you hope they hire from within the family, the Citadel Bulldog baseball family. Now, you're stepping aside. You're not going to be involved. They've got a search committee in place, but what kind of person when you say a Citadel Bulldog baseball guy, I mean, what do you think would be, who do you think, or what kind of, I'm trying to spit this out right. If you could describe the perfect replacement for you, what would that be, or who would that be?
Whoever the committee decides on. They put together a committee, do not have a dog in the hunt, have not endorsed anyone, and whatever the Citadel feels is best, I will agree with.
Yeah. What kind of coach do you think it takes to be successful at a place like the Citadel?
Highly disciplined, highly organized, and a guy who can recognize pitching, defense, and just an athlete that can develop over a 3 or 4 year period.
Of course, having played there under the great Chow Ports and then replacing him, I mean, you've got so much invested in the program at school. What was it like for you the last couple of days, I guess, as you cleaned out the office and packed up all the memories and things of that nature?
Very exciting, to be honest with you, Phil. We've had a great run. If General Watts and Walt Nadzak would have told me 26 years ago that we would have accomplished what we did during my watch, I would have signed up in a heartbeat. Mm-hmm. And, you've got to look at the body of work. Yeah, the last season and a half has been tough, but, we got great kids, and I feel so bad for, the group of seniors that we have, because they're great kids, and we had a tough time here lately, but, the Citadel is a great institution, and they will overcome.
Sure, sure. In your comments the other day to the media down there, you said that one of the things that has changed and made it more difficult for mid-majors programs like yours, the summer baseball circuit, I guess the AAU baseball circuit, team baseball circuit, that sort of thing. Can you expound on that? What did you mean by that makes it more difficult?
Well, it's just very difficult to find a Terrence Small, the Chip Cannon, a Philip Hardy, some of the great players that we've had in the past that go unnoticed. Now, you have guys committing when they're in the 8th and 9th grade. And because of the showcases that AAU baseball has presented, and, it's just very difficult. I mean, everybody's struggling with it. You look at our state, Phil, I mean, we've got one team in a regional in this state. And years ago, we had 5 to 6 on a regular basis.
That is correct. That is correct. I mean, are you suggesting there's a downturn in talent overall with the teams in our state?
No doubt. It's just parity. It's parity in college baseball. It's parity in, all of athletics.
Is it tougher as you leave the sport, maybe just temporarily, but is it tougher today being a college baseball coach than 15, 20 years ago when maybe college baseball coaches worked in the shadows and people didn't really notice?
No, I don't think so. At the Citadel, baseball was the kingpin, always has been. And, to our credit, our football programs had 2 great years. And, every school, emphasizes certain sports. And at the Citadel, baseball is the back porch of our institution. Obviously, football is the front porch.
Sure, sure. Now, what's the chances you'll be coaching again somewhere?
Very slim. I'm going to retire, Phil. Yeah, I'm retiring. I've had my run, and I'm going to enjoy what we've done and spend time with my family and just enjoy life.
But if somebody called and said, hey, come give us a look, maybe as an assistant or maybe a head coach somewhere, you wouldn't be interested, huh?
Probably not. Probably not.
Hey, listen, you have earned the break, no doubt about it. Quick question: you got Greensboro playing Clemson tomorrow night. You know Greensboro extremely well from the SoCon. Give us a quick scouting report on the Spartans. What should the Tigers expect?
A very, very well-schooled offensive team. Link has done a phenomenal job there. He's the junior college route, and it's like I told Link, he's a up-and-coming superstar, and I'm wishing Monty the best, but Greensboro's, they're very, very good.
So Clemson pitching, they're throwing Eubanks tomorrow night. They better be at their best, huh?
No, Eubanks is very good. Yeah. I feel that Clemson obviously is the favorite, and I feel very sure that Monty will have his ball club ready to play. But Greensboro is, they're not your patsy 4 seed, no doubt.
Well, Freddie, listen, man, with your voice, if you ever want to come be a co-host with us here on Sports Talk and bring those pipes with you.
Well, I appreciate it. I don't have a job right now, so where do I fill out an application?
Just go online to KMAC Must Die and fill it out there, and we'll work you in.
Yeah. All right, man. Again, Phil, over the years, I really appreciate what y'all done. I can remember, you may not.
Hang on 1 second. Hang on, Coach. We'll come right back to you. Be right back. Okay, we're back. Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network. And just to update you, Cal State Fullerton has gone on and defeated BYU. At least I think they have.
It was 13-2.
13-2?
In the ninth inning.
Okay, so I guess that game is over. Back to Freddie Jordan for a couple of more moments. Yeah, I just wanted to ask you, and we'll let you finish up in a second. Where did you learn the penchant for the 10-second sound bite? Did that come from Coach Port?
No, I don't know about that, Phil. But no, I just wanted to tell you guys, I can remember back in '94 when we won our first championship. You were very nice to me, and you folks have been very nice to me for 26 seasons, and a lot of championships, a lot of wins, and just appreciate what you do, and I'll be listening in the future.
Well, we thank you very much, and we wish you a ton of success in retirement if you decide to stay retired or whatever you decide to do, and hopefully we will cross paths at a diamond somewhere in the future. Look forward to seeing you.
Thank you very much, Phil.
Thank you, Coach. Yes, sir. Thank you. All right, Fred Jordan, retiring baseball coach from the Citadel, who does tend to talk in 10 and 15-second sound bites, which I didn't know Coach Port very well at all. Little bit, not much, but he was like Bill Wilhelm. I mean, back then you had your coaches were Bill Wilhelm and Chow Port and June Raines. Those were your three big coaches, and Wilhelm and Port were, very similar, at least to me. I don't know if they, shared very much in common together besides their ability to win a lot of baseball games. But that was quite a crew back then. And of course, Chow Port took the Citadel to the College World Series. I think that was in 1991. I remember Don Williams and Tom Price drove to Omaha in Don's Volvo, and he hit a fox on the interstate between St. Louis and Kansas City, knocked off one of his headlights, but kept on trucking and got to Omaha. It's that kind of story that only Mike Morgan can appreciate. As we welcome Mike Morgan in for another edition of Morgan on the Move, brought to you by Play It Again Sports in Columbia. Buy, sell, and trade what you want. And by Founders Federal Credit Union. Check out foundersfcu.com. Learn how they can assist you in all of your financial needs. You heard a little bit there with Fred Jordan as he's retiring from the Citadel. And I know that you've had some interaction with him from your years calling games at South Carolina and going back down to play his ball clubs.
If I'm not mistaken, now when did it start?
His first year as head coach was 92.
Okay. Yeah, the thing I remember most of any of those matchups, and I called quite a few Carolina Citadel matchups, is a game where he had a player, Dallas McPherson, who actually went out of the major leagues. McPherson got a base hit. This was in a regional game, if I'm not mistaken. And all of a sudden, Stuart Lake, who is an assistant coach and is back there now, who is a former umpire, noticed that there was some pine tar above where it's legally can be. And they waited till he got the hit, which was smart, go out there and appeal it. They checked the bat, and sure enough, it was deemed illegal. So he got kicked out of the game, and they took away the hit and called him out.
Wow.
I've never seen that in a college game before or since.
And I'm sure Coach Jordan handled that very calmly.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm sure he'd love to just retell that story and relive all the agony of it.
I wish I'd known that story before we let him go. All right, you are in Gainesville, going to be working the ESPN broadcast of that regional. What do you think of the tournament field overall, the balance, the imbalance, the fairness, unfairness? What's your take on it?
I don't think there was much to gripe about. I mean, we can beat up the committee about the fact that it needs to get to a point where it's 1 through 16, not 1 through 8. In other words, stop doing this geographically once we get past the top 8. Let's just see 1 through 16 by power, by strength of the of the different regional spots and then match them up accordingly, where the number 1 national seed plays the weakest, the number 16 seed in terms of hosting, they play the strongest regional. We don't have that now. They're still obviously saving money by doing it more geographically. We don't do softball. Do we not care about saving money in softball? So I don't really understand that, but I think that will be corrected. I know the people on the committee are talking about that. Coaches have expressed that and everything else. In terms of the field itself, you could argue that Kentucky should have had a national seed that should have gotten number 8 instead of Stanford. You could argue Clemson should not have hosted a regional based on the way they finished. But, here's the thing, guys. We get so obsessed in all those things about home field advantage and national seeds and everything else. I think the most powerful stat going into this tournament is the one that I heard a few days ago, and that is this. 11 out of the last 13 years, the national champion in college baseball has not been a national seed. And the last national seed to win it, the 2011 South Carolina Gamecocks.
How about that? Speaking of, we've only got a couple minutes with you. I just want to get your take on the Gamecocks not getting in.
Not surprised. Not surprised. If you followed what happened on Sunday with all the upsets, those were bid stealers. That was the worst thing that could have happened to a South Carolina team, was the fact that teams that were not going to get in won their conference tournaments and therefore stole a bid from teams like a South Carolina and other teams that run the bubble. It's unfortunate. They had the best RPI of anybody that didn't make it. And I'm convinced if you would have flip-flopped just one of those conference games, just one where you go from losing a series to winning a series, I think that's the difference between being in and out. But as you know, that didn't happen.
Yeah. And of course, everybody's kind of on pins and needles around here wondering what, if anything, is going to happen. I won't drag you into that mess, but I did want to ask you about Vanderbilt. You've seen them a good bit. You know that pitching very well, and if everything goes to plan, we'll have Clemson and Vandy on Saturday night with Kyle Wright going up against Charlie Barnes. How would you handicap that matchup?
Well, Kyle Wright's got a chance to be the number 1 overall pick in college in the upcoming draft. So that says everything you need to know. He's got ridiculous stuff. He got off to a slow start this year, but he's figured it out. That's bad news for anybody that's got to face him. Jaron Kendall's another outstanding player. Their starting outfielder who's got a chance to be a high draft pick. But I don't think this is the Vanderbilt team that we've seen the last few years. I don't think they're as dominating on the mound, and I don't think their offense is as lethal. They're certainly a dangerous team to be in anybody's bracket or anybody's regional, and I think it certainly sets up for a potentially great matchup. But I don't think I would put them in the same class as those teams that won the national title or played for it.
Could you see Clemson winning its region?
I could see it, sure. I mean, they're at home. So, absolutely. I think it's probably about a 50-50 shot.
Who are you working with this weekend?
Working with a gentleman by the name of Nick Belmonte, who's been doing games for a long, long time, and he's got a big, fat Chicago Cubs World Series ring because he doubles up as a scout for them. So he'll be shining that brightly, probably blind me throughout the broadcast.
All right, my man. Have a great weekend calling games. Are you getting any over-the-air stuff, or are you strictly ESPN3?
No, we'll be over the air tomorrow night on the SEC network, Saturday night on the SEC network, and Sunday on one of the ESPN stations. I just don't know which one yet.
Excellent. Well, have a great call, and we'll try and check you out, and we'll talk to you next week.
Sounds great, guys. Have a great weekend.
Thank you. Mike Morgan. Morgan on the move here on Sports Talk. He doesn't stay in one place very long.
That would be interesting.
That's why we call it Morgan on the move.
If Clemson wins, because they would jump right into Lions Den and play the Beavers in Oregon State. You know, that make that long trek across the nation.
Don't think Monty Lee doesn't want a shot at it, though.
Yes.
Of course. He would take it on. All right, we'll hit a break. We'll be back. If you want to join us, 800-956-7266. Be back in a moment.
You are watching Travel.
Clemson University to represent standing here if it wasn't for a lot of great people. That's just the bottom line. I'm really here to just represent Clemson University, to represent our Board of Trustees, President Clemens, Dan Radakovich, and accept this trophy on their behalf, but most of all, our staff.
We're just at
That's just the bottom line. I'm really here to just represent Clemson University, to represent our Board of Trustees, President Clemens, Dan Radakovich.
after
My baby has left me.
All right, back we are. Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network. 800-956-7266 is our number. We got some room and some time for you. Going to join us tonight on the program. Some comments from Dabo Swinney coming up today. He was in Atlanta at the College Football Hall of Fame to accept the MacArthur National Championship Trophy that goes to the national champion.
Handing out trophies?
Still handing out trophies.
General MacArthur?
Goodness
I don't know which MacArthur it was. Could have been MacArthur Park. Could have been who else was famous MacArthur? Anyway,
Douglas.
We'll bring you a little bit of Dabo here. I know you got to have that itch for football scratched a little bit. In fact, today was the day I received my annual credential request for SEC Media Days. June 1.
Right around the corner.
Yeah, those are July 10th, I believe. July 10th, 11th, 12th, 13th. And then USC cranks it up on July 27th. Yeah. So make your plans accordingly. So we'll bring you a little bit of Dabo here in just a little bit and to let you hear what some of the things he had to say in Atlanta today. Deshaun Watson saw this story coming out of Houston. Apparently, he's off to a very good start, impressing the people there. This story talking about how quickly, according to this writer, he's diagnosing defenses during a red zone drill, finding open receivers. Says here his pass arrived too late and was slightly overthrown as a potential touchdown opportunity was lost. However, he's making steady progress in his knowledge of the playbook. The Texans are seeing incremental growth as he learns to read the defenses and hit receivers in stride. Ryan said he's gotten better every day. I think the hard part this week is there's more snaps in the red zone where things happen a lot faster. It's always something that takes a rookie quarterback the longest to learn how fast things happen down there. But he works hard. He's in here all the time studying. I think he was coached really well at Clemson, so he has a good basic fundamental knowledge of football. He's got instincts. He's getting better every day. All right, that's the word there from Bill O'Brien on Deshaun Watson. I mentioned the College Football Hall of Fame released its list of candidates. I didn't mention some of the players. Nobody from our state among the long list of players who are candidates for the College Football Hall of Fame this go-around, but some of these names are very familiar names like Matt Cavanaugh.
Yes.
Remember
Pittsburgh,
him?
quarterback.
Marco Coleman, Eric Crouch.
Linebacker, Georgia Tech, Marco Coleman, Eric Crouch, quarterback, Nebraska.
Heisman Trophy winner, right?
Mm-hmm.
This should be automatic. Eric Dickerson, right?
I thought he was already in.
Well, this is the College Hall of Fame.
Oh, okay. Those
Yeah.
those are the ones where those who were paid in College Hall of Fame.
Exactly. I'm wondering
that's
about that.
bad.
Will they hold that against him? Kevin Falk is on the list. Who else jumps out at me here? Craig Ironhead Hayward is on the list.
Pittsburgh.
Calvin Johnson should be an automatic, right?
Yes.
I wonder how much of this is based on your college career, your pro career, a little bit of both. Maybe Ray Lewis is on the list. Ed McCaffrey's on the list. Sean Moore. Ken Norton Jr. One of your favorites, pro, Paul Palmer, is on the list.
Temple.
Yes. Ed Reed. Warren Sapp. Some of these guys you would think would just be automatic. Michael Westbrook. Charles Woodson, I'd say, would be an automatic.
The one thing that I think about when I think of Paul Palmer, what an interesting way when they used to crank up the Heisman machine for every player back in the day. And Temple came up with a comic book. Paul Palmer as a superhero, and he'd take off the cape and he had the uniform. It was great.
Yeah. I mean, he was a terrific running back when Temple was really not very good. It's only been recently, I guess, when Matt Rule was there that they became kind of a player on the national scene, and we'll see if they keep it going now that he is gone. So those are some of the guys on the list. Something else to pass along to you that I got in from our friends at the Bovada Sportsbook. K-Mac, you like this kind of stuff.
Oh, yeah, love.
Over-under for wins for this year.
Okay.
For example, the over-under for Alabama is 10.5.
I'd take the over.
Well, if you take the over, then minus 200.
Oh, okay. That makes sense.
Yeah. Let's see. Clemson over-under is 9. 9 for the Tigers.
Ooh.
What would you take? The over is minus 150. The under is plus 120.
The under is plus 120?
The under is plus 120.
I mean, I think Clemson's going to win 9. That's where I would put them right now. So they should probably throw the hook in there at 9.5 and really get people guessing.
South Carolina, 5.5.
Although under.
Over 5.5 for South Carolina.
Over. 5.5?
5.5.
I'd go over. I think South Carolina has a chance to win 8 games. So regular season 7, 8 with a bowl game.
Yeah. Again, you got to think about how that defense is going to be. But who are their 4 losses? If you think they can win 8,
that's always hard to go game by game.
Yeah,
they'd probably lose to Texas A&M. But again, when I look at the schedule, it's hard to go game by game because they can upset somebody that you don't expect them to and then lose to somebody else. But the SEC East is not the juggernaut it once was. Missouri doesn't scare you. I know everybody says Kentucky. This is supposed to be the year for Kentucky again. We've been hearing that over and over. Vanderbilt is a winnable game. They've had, for whatever reason, they always seem to play close games against Tennessee. They get Florida at Williams-Brice this year. But NC State, I think they can open with the win there. They could easily lose all those games I just mentioned.
Sure.
Maybe the under's looking better.
They've got Georgia and Florida 8. The over/under for those 2 schools.
One
8.
team that they'll crush. Georgia. They will blow. I think they'll blow the doors.
Because
off
half the Georgia team will be in jail.
They might score 100.
Season rolls
on
around.
Georgia.
Florida State 9.5. How many they'll score on Georgia?
Maybe 100.
Yeah.
Record.
Back to the phones we go. Oh, it's Bulldog Bert.
Oh, wow. How convenient.
Yeah, absolutely. Didn't realize that was Bulldog Bert as we were talking about Georgia.
What are y'all reading? Are y'all reading Lindy's magazine who predicting us to go 7-5, or what y'all reading? Some kind of
boy.
Betting.
No, he's looking at Vegas.
How can you say that when Nick Chubb is going to be the sensation of the year in the SEC?
Well, I mean, you do have your 2 running backs back. You got your quarterback back.
Did you find an offensive line?
Yeah.
Well, listen, they ain't going to need it. When Nick Chubb gets to running, I'm telling you, there ain't no defense can stop him. Look at the games we won last year until he got injured against Tennessee and see where we was losing the game.
Was he already hurt in the Vanderbilt game when they didn't even give him the ball when they needed a yard? Was he hurt that game?
Listen,
Hey,
I can't help some incompetent coaches.
Right, exactly.
Is that incompetent coach back or
the,
no?
the same
I think it's a little
coaches are
early.
on the sideline,
Yeah.
right? You got the same guys. Oh, wait a minute. Didn't Bobo send that play in from Colorado State?
Yeah, he probably did.
No, Bobo didn't recruit Deshaun Watson. That's his biggest
Kyle
downfall.
Shanahan.
Right
Look, Kyle Shanahan called that in from the Falcons.
You got to give Georgia its due now. You got 21 starters back. You got a couple of guys on the O-line, couple of receivers, got a big fullback back. Your tight end, who I love, Blazevich. He's terrific. You got him back. Of course, you got those running backs back.
No, the other big
most
tight
of your
end,
defense is back.
The freshman tight end is the one I like, the big one. Noah, or what is his name? I can't remember.
I don't know who you're talking about.
The big Utah Blazevich. I was talking about the big freshman.
Oh, Isaac Noda. Yeah. Isaac Noda. Yeah. They got.
I tell you what, we got Isaac Noda and Elijah Holyfield. We got a lot of Bible characters in that group. Something bound good to happen.
You got the best talent for any 8-win team in the country. Let me tell you that.
That's right.
What happens if you only win 8? What are you going to do?
Well, we might have to reboot. But I don't think so. I think we're going to win more than the Knoxers. And Smart has to win the East this year. Because how can you not deny if they can't win the East?
Got to win the East. Be right back.
The number 16
depth and getting a lot of guys in the rotation. But, it was just a small handful of guys who made most of the plays, and a lot of them are gone. Jarrell Foster is a pretty nice cornerback. He
All right, today in Atlanta, Dabo Swinney and dignitaries from Clemson, as well as from the College Football Hall of Fame, are all together as the Tigers received more bling for their national championship. The MacArthur Bowl that goes annually to the national champion was presented to the Tigers. Several folks got up and spoke. And then, of course, Dabo had a few things to say as well. Here is Dabo Swinney from just a little while ago this afternoon in Atlanta, addressing everyone at the National Football Foundation and Hall of Fame in Atlanta, and just sort of giving a general feeling by him for being there to receive that trophy.
I'm really here to just represent Clemson University, to represent our Board of Trustees, President Clements, Dan Radakovich, and accept this trophy on their behalf, but most of all, our staff and our team. And, you know, a couple things that I always tell people, two things. You know, first of all, my coach, Coach Gene Stallings, I was with him for 7 years. He's on that trophy. But for 7 years working and playing for Gene Stallings, he would say all the time, if I heard him say it once, I heard him say it a million times. He would sometimes, when he would be at a setting like this or talking at a function, he would say, if he would quote Sir Isaac Newton, he would say, if it seems as though I can see further than most, it's because I have stood on the shoulders of giants. And I never really, you know, I used to hear him say that all the time, and it was a nice thing for him to say. But man, I totally understand exactly that sentiment, because that's what I have lived. And the Bible teaches that, you know, where there is no counsel, the people fall. But in the multitude of counselors, there is safety. And what I have had in my life is a multitude of counselors. I have had the privilege to stand on the shoulders of giants. People that have been put in my life, coaches like Woody McCorvey, who's like a father to me, was my position coach at Alabama and has been with me from day one, helping me run the program at Clemson. And, you know, so I'm up here at the podium, but it's because I've stood on the shoulders of giants. I have been surrounded by a multitude of counselors, and that's why we've had success. So any success that we've had, it's been through the efforts of a lot of people. You know, I'm just one of them, and I'm honored to be in the role, and it's a privilege to be the head football coach at Clemson University. It's a privilege to be able to lead a group of young men in this great game, and to have our name reattached to this trophy for the first time since 1981 is something that I've dreamed about. You know, winning a championship at Clemson and being a part of just really sheer and utter joy, this joyous moment, and being able to celebrate that with all of Clemson Nation is something that I'll never forget, and something I look forward to doing again. So I appreciate that feeling. You know, so, and you know, to know that this was named after General MacArthur. One of the things I always tell our team is a quote from General MacArthur. He would always say, preparedness is the key to success and victory. Preparedness is the key to victory. The more you sweat in peace, the less you bleed in war. What a message that, and that, you know, obviously football is not war, but there is a deep message in that. And one of the things that I always tell our team is that championships are won when the stands are empty. You know, champions are made when no one's looking. That's when you win. And you win in the locker room before you win on the field. You win between your ears before you become a champion. And I think that's what General MacArthur was saying.
How does he do that? How does he remember all those sayings? Time after time after time.
Because he write them down.
He wasn't reading from a script.
No, but you write them down. That's how you remember stuff.
Yeah, but I mean, my goodness, he goes from biblical to MacArthur to this to that. I mean,
you don't do that?
A phenomenal speaker. No, I can't quote people like that.
Okay.
I can only quote myself. I prefer to quote myself
okay.
at certain times.
That's when you get in trouble when you quote yourself.
But anyway, good stuff from Dabo Sweeney. You know, you got to drop in a little Dabo every once in a while just to get you ready for the football season.
Little Dabo, do you?
Yeah. Any major news today out of the SEC meetings? Anybody heard anything? I know one thing they were discussing, a 14-week season with 2 off weeks. I'm not sure that's going over real well with coaches. Of course, coaches, everything I'm reading from the coaches, those who've commented do not like the new recruiting calendar.
I know.
And some coaches are the AD, Jay Jacobs at Auburn, was not shooting down the notion that there could be some potentially down the road realignment of the divisions. And I saw a column in the state paper today where some people think that there shouldn't be any divisions in the SEC.
That's not right. Anytime, this is what's funny. Anytime one division appears to be weaker than the other, everybody wants to get rid of the divisions. They did it in basketball. I think what the SEC did in basketball is confusing. Why wouldn't you keep the divisions like they were, where you played the 6 other teams in your division twice? But now they got it more confusing, where we need to get more people in the tournament. Well, build better teams. That's what you've done now. You got good coaches, good recruiting in basketball.
You know what tomorrow is, of course?
Friday.
June 2nd.
Well, it's payday. It's payday for the SEC.
Oh, yeah.
Tomorrow's the
Big
day
checks.
they get the checks.
It'll be 20 million.
Checks.
Boy, you see those little 8 athletic directors with their hands out waiting for a Sankey. Greg, my turn.
Go.
Here's your 27 million. Here's your 20.
Well, that's
here's
good.
But here's what I'm going to get to. My point is, it's coming to an end, boys. You better watch your spending and you better watch your bottom line, because these big television contracts, they're going to die. You know, now some contracts are signed here for a few more years, going to be in play for a little while, but there's no way under the current trends that ESPN in particular can continue to fork over the billions of dollars and the millions, hundreds of millions of dollars of college sports that it has been doing. The business model is just not going to sustain the loss of viewership that's going to continue. There's no end to the cutting of the cable now. Now that the genie is out of the whatever you call it,
the bottle,
that too, because with the streaming and everybody now getting involved in streaming, and now you're talking about Facebook streaming and Twitter streaming and all these other things,
Snap streaming.
Yeah, I mean it's going to be available everywhere. I foresee the day in my fertile brain where schools themselves take over their own viewing product and sell to their followers. You want to watch our game? Then you pay us and you can get our stream, and they'll have their own broadcasters. They'll have their own sets, because they're already doing that by and large. And I think you'll see to some degree, you know, the end of ESPN and Fox and all that having all the network games and schools doing it themselves.
But when you do that, I see what you're saying, but you're just going to be limiting yourself to that one audience. The one thing ESPN does deliver is a national audience.
Anybody can watch.
There's still going to be a place for over the air. I don't disagree that ESPN and NBC and the networks are overbidding for some of these products, not just college sports, but all sports, the NBA, hockey, NASCAR. So they're going to have to reassess how much they are spending. I still think there's going to be a need for that platform.
The one big key is, though, when they watch Sankey walk into the room, remember now, I'm the only product that's making you money, ESPN, right now, is the SEC network. So I want a bigger cut.
Well, at least Ray Tanner will be in a good mood with all that cash in his pocket. So if Chad Holbrook's smart, he'll catch him then when he's in a good mood.
Meet him at the airport.
Or it could be bad. Hey, I got some extra money. How much is your buyout? Okay, there we go. And we're moving on.
It's going to be perhaps an interesting weekend, certainly up at Clemson with the regional and with Ray returning to Columbia. I would think that unless they just want to wait and start the business week with a meeting and not do anything over the weekend, we could see something develop over the weekend.
At the airport.
All right, we'll see you tomorrow night from Doug Kingsmore. Have a great night.